discuss the chapter 1 of Introduction to Communication Arts and Skills. So first, we will discuss the history of English language. Period in the history of English. The evolution of English in England has been unbroken now. With this development, however, it is possible to recognize the three main periods. The period 450 to 1150 is known as the Old English period. The Anglo-Saxon conquest marks beginning of Old English period and Norman conquest its end. Old English grammar. Old English was highly inflected language, and also the Old English period is called the period of full inflection. Old English was the synthetic language, one which indicates the relation of words in the sentence by means of inflections. All Old English noun had two numbers, singular and plural. All noun had grammatically gender. There were two forms of adjectives in Old English, single present tense and single past tense. Old English vocabulary. In the course of first 70 years of its existence, English was brought into contact with three other members. Each of these contacts resulted in addition to its vocabulary. Middle English. Middle English was used between late 11th century and about 1470, when the Chancery Standard, a form of London-based English, began to become widespread, a process aided by the introduction of the printing press to England by William Caxton in the late 1470s. That is the name given by historical linguists to the many forms of the English. The variant of the Northumbrian dialect spoken in the southeast Scotland was developing into Scots language. The language of England as used up to 1650 is known as Early Modern English.
So hi, good day. I am Abdul Pinuraihan, the leader of Group 1, Chapter 1. So we have a different topics that are signed with. So let's get started and let's talk about it. So let's start with communication. So communication is a process of exchanging information, ideas, and thought, and feelings and emotion through speech, signal, writing, or behavior. So, communication is what people everyday needs in their lives in order to communicate with others or socialize with the others. So, types of communication according to channel use. First, we have verbal communication. Refers to a form of communication in which message is transmitted by a word of mouth. So verbal communication is a type of communication where we use spoken words and written words to get our message or information across with the others. So yes, in the other words, when we express our thoughts, feelings, or ideas by words, that's called a verbal communication. And yes, even we are writing for someone, it is also called a verbal communication because we use words. Some example of that verbal communication is sending email or phone call to the other. Advantage of oral communication. So it brings people feedback. In a face-to-face conversation, by reading facial expression and body language, or one can guess whether he or she should trust what's being said or not. Example of it is when you are at a face-to-face conversation. The advantage of oral communication is it provides immediate feedback and clarification. The people listening to the speakers and ask some questions to add for the clarification. So the other one is the disadvantage of oral communication. In a face-to-face discussion, the user is unable to deeply think about what he is delivering. So because maybe your words can offend by someone, or your words may be inappropriate to hear. So some of the receiver fails to understand the meaning of a message due to habitual production of the speaker. Second one is the non-verbal communication. So sending or receiving of wordless message. Let's think like that. Words, it's wordless message. We can say that communication other than oral and written, such as gesture, body language, posture, tone of voice, or facial expression. This type of communication is we are communicating through wordless. So in this sample situation of when you and your friends unexpectedly meet at the park, and you both wave their hands, and that gesture is mean say hi, right? Even you don't say it, and it's called a nonverbal communication because even you don't say hi, it's just a posture of your hands. It is called a sign language. So, and the other one is your friends ask you some foods, and you say or yung tumango ka, and that's actually a sign of you are agree with it even you didn't say it. That means you want that foods, right? So it is also called in nonverbal communication. So here we are, the types of communication according to purpose and style. So we have formal communication. Certain rules, conventions, and principles are followed while communicating in the message. So in this type of communication, it occurs professional or official style, such as professional settings, corporate meetings, or conference. In this type of communication, using of foul words or inappropriate words or slang words are forbidden, and the correct punctuation must be used. And the other one is the informal communication. So done using channels that are in contrast with formal communication channels. It's a casual talk. It is established for societal affiliations of members in an organization and face-to-face discussion. It happens among family and friends. So yes, so in this type of communication, is what we actually everyday use bonding with our family and friends. Lalo na sa mga friends, using of slang words or foul words is not forbidden. And using of correct punctuation is not required. So, unlike the formal communication, the formal communication is very formal, while informal is they use some inappropriate words. So yeah, it doesn't follow authority line in this informal communication. Types of communication according to form. So intrapersonal communication is language used or through internal to the communicator. Intrapersonal communication is the active internal involvement of the individual in symbolic processing of message. The individual becomes his or her own sender and receiver, providing feedback to him or herself is an ongoing internal process. So, interpersonal communication can be defined as a communication with oneself, and that may include self-talk, acts of imagination and visualization, and even recall of a memory. So, the second one is interpersonal communication. So, it involves participants, communicators, both sender and receiver, who are interdependent on one another, have a shared history, communication channels. Mood are the medium chosen to convey the message from sender to receiver. Communication channels can be categorized into two: the direct and indirect channels of communications. The interpersonal communication is a type of communication between two or more people. It includes sharing of a message, ideas, or information between individuals. This may take form like a face-to-face conversation, emails, sending emails or phone calls. So the interpersonal communication can be a dyadic between two people, or triadic with the three people and small group among 3 and 12 individuals. So we have two main categories of interpersonal communication, which is the direct and indirect channels. So direct channels are those that are obvious and can be easily recognized by the receiver. They are also under control of the sender. So then the indirect are those channels that are usually recognized subliminally or subconsciously by the receiver and not under direct control by the sender. This includes kinetics or body language that reflects the inner emotion and motivation rather than the actual delivery message. So in the other word, direct communication is saying explicitly and plainly what the person is thinking, while the indirect channels is not saying what a person is thinking. Instead, they use gesture or body language to communicate their true meaning. So here is the example of direct communication or a direct channel. So honestly telling another person you appreciate their work ethic, and telling your boss that you are sick and can't make it into work. The example of indirect channel or indirect communication is you are sighing loudly in the frustration instead of telling a person you disappointed. And the other one is rolling your eyes. Rolling your eyes, like you are upset but not voicing anything. So public communication, it is at the heart of our economy, society, and politics. The public communication is practice of whispering a message to a general populace or to a specific group using various tools and methods. Public communication is a form of communication that is used to communicate and share information between an organization and groups and individuals. So the public communication, the studios use it to promote their films. Then politicians use it to get elected, and the business use it to burn the image of their business, and advocate use it to promote social issues. Mass communication covers other forms of public communication. These are the printed form, radio, television, and movies. The tools or materials used are called mass media. So mass communication is a process of imparting or exchanging information to a mass media to a large population of segments. Organizational communication is defined as the channels and forms of communication that occur within organization, such as corporation, non-profits, and governmental bodies. It includes both communication with an organization and public-facing communication. So organizational communication refers to the communication that takes place between a group of people who are working towards common goals with an organization. It consists of the interaction that takes place for the purpose of working together for towards these goals or conducting business in general. So modern English, the period around 1500 to the present, is often called modern English. During this time, English grammar has not changed much, but there have been great changes in pronunciation. So right, in this time or in this period, different pronunciation is created and more na-enhance masyado mga pronunciation natin sa mga words in this time. No? So during the English Renaissance, the number of English words also grew rapidly. Today, the English language is still changing and growing. Words are added. Marami na yung nadadag na ngayon words. No? Actually, marami unfamiliar words na I don't even know what its meaning and unfamiliar nga diba? Hindi ko alam. So words become obsolete and through use, words change in form and meaning. Knowing how a word was adapted into English and what was its original meaning can often help you understand its current meaning. So yun may mga words talaga na yung malalim ibig sabihin. There have words na may dalawang ibig sabihin. So masyadong makamodern na tayo ngayon and our English word it's marami pa at nag-grow pa masyado. So, I hope din na marami akong matutunan about English.
Good afternoon everyone. My topic is about levels communication. So we have 5 levels communication. The number 1 is pathic communication. Pathic communication is usually happens during acquaintance situation. Uses messages that establish rapport, may happens to share or end a convo. Hug, shake hands, kiss, bow, smile, make eye contact, and face another. The example of situation is you say hi or hello or goodbye. Punctual communication. Punctual communication is sharing or information is observed. It can be called chat or small talk. What you have read in your textbook, studied for the test, showing picture and showing biographical info. Example, you have met a new student, you say, what program are you taking? And who are your parents? Or where are you from? 3 is evaluative communication. Evaluative communication is sharing our ideas, opinion, and judgment to others. The example is, you and your friends give your comments on the right of many, and you shared your opinion, sharing the advantage and disadvantage. The number 4 is gut level communication. Gut level communication is sharing our emotion and feelings with others when positive or negative emotions meet. Sample, you say, you know that I was thankful that you are here, and how could you do this to me? And the last one is peak communication. So peak communications, two individual experience gut level as they are sharing that exact emotion with the same level intensity. It's either positive or negative. Example, when you say I love you, he said I love you too. When you say I hate you, he said I hate you too. Now, we talk about two barriers to effective communication. Barriers to communication are things that get in the way of a message being received. They could be physical, such as loud music playing, or emotional, such when a person is too angry or fearful to listen to what another individual is saying. So now we have three parts of barriers. Number one is encoding barriers. Number two is transmitting barriers. Number three is decoding barriers. To encoding, there are five categories of encoding. One is lack of sensitivity to receiver. A breakdown to communication may result when a message is not adapted to its receiver. Recognizing the receiver needs, status, knowledge of the subject, and language skills assist the sender in preparing a successful message. Sample: a teacher should make sure that her students are ready for the class. This assures effective learnings. 2. Lack of basic communication skills. The receiver is less likely to understand the message if the sender has trouble choosing precise and arranging in correct grammar. Sample: the boss write a memo. He or she should exert effort in the words to avoid misunderstanding. The number 3 is insufficient knowledge of the subject. If the sender lacks specific information about something, the receiver will likely to receive unclear mixed message. Example: the demonstrator should have sufficient knowledge to that the observer would have acquired the skills and applied them effectively. Information overload. So, information overload is too much information may tend to future a barrier because that amount of information is coming so fast that you may have a difficulty understanding that info. And the example of that is too much lesson and subjects renewed for a test in a short period of time can cause a mental block.
Okay, the second one is transmitting barriers. Firstly, we have a physical distractions. The place or location where you are and the appearance something tend to distract the message which is actually being transmitted. When the example of situation, you are in a noisy place like restaurant, you're talking with your friends, your conversation must be distract in the communication may have a conflict. Then maybe example of a letter that has a bad image or the font must be bad or the colors, then it's tend to be distract the eyes of the readers. Then the second one is the conflicting messages, misleading word of choice or the language used may affect the effectiveness of message transmission. Messages that cause a conflict, a perception for the receiver may result in a complete communication. Now, or in the communication that you're using a slang words, maybe can lead to miscommunication. No, yung nakikipag-usap ka sa kaibigan mo or your friend that maybe from other country, then you used a slang words here in the Philippines that they are unfamiliar with. So, makakaroon kayo ng conflict sa communication ninyo. Like, halimbawa, that's called a werpa. But the werpa here is power. So, your friends must be don't know about that words. And the third one is the channel barriers. This talks about the gadget or net used in another means of transmitting the message. If the sender chooses an inappropriate channel, communication may be break up. Here are the sample situations. Detailed instruction presented over the telephone may be frustrating for both communicators. So in the channel barriers is maybe you use an inappropriate channels that maybe lead to miscommunication, like here, like example of net that you use. Maybe your net is having poor connection. There you have communicating through a phone call with your friends, then the words maybe can't hear properly, then that can lead to miscommunication. No. And yeah, maybe the phone you use or channel is not that good to communicate with, then it can lead also in miscommunication. So if if meron kasi mga message na masyadong yung mga information is mas kakaiba, or a lot of new technical information, so ang magiging
There are 4 types of macro skills. The number 1 is listening. Listening is the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages in the communication process. Number 2 is speaking. Speaking is the process of building and sharing meaning through the use of verbal and non-verbal symbols in a variety of contexts. 3. Reading. Reading skills are ability that pertain to a person's capacity to read, comprehend, interpret, and decode written language and text. Number 4 is writing. Writing skills are the skills you use to write effectively and succinctly. A good writer is someone who can communicate their point to their audience without using too much fluff and in a way that the other person can understand.
Dimension of grammar. The dimension of grammar refers to the number of different components or aspects that make up a language. Grammar system. Grammar can be analyzed and described in terms of various dimensions, including phonology, the study of sounds; morphology, the study of word structure; semantics, the study of meaning; and pragmatics, the study of how language is used in context. Each of these dimensions contributes to the overall complexity and richness of a language grammar. For example, a language with a complex phonology may have a large number of distinct sounds and phonetic roots, while a language with a complex syntax may have many different ways of arranging words and phrases to convey meaning. The dimension of grammar can vary greatly between different languages. with some languages being more complex and having more dimensions than others. Additionally, the dimension of grammar can also change over time as language evolve and develop new grammatical features. The dimension of grammar refers to the different aspects or components that make up a language grammar system. These aspects include phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. 1. Phonology. Phonology deals with the study of sounds in a language. It includes the inventory of sounds, phonemes, and the rules governing their combination and pronunciation. Phonology also covers aspects such as stress, intonation, and rhythm. Morphology. Morphology is concerned with the structure of words. It examines how words are formed through the combination of smaller meaningful units called morphemes. Morphology looks at inflection, word forms for tense, numbers, and etc., and the creation of new words. Syntax. Syntax studies the arrangement of words and phrases to form grammatically correct sentences. It focuses on the rules and principles that govern sentence structure, including word, order, sentence types, and the relationships between words and phrases. Semantics. Semantics is the study of meaning in language. It explores how words, phrases, and sentences convey meaning and how meaning is interpreted by speakers. Semantics examines concepts such as word, meaning, sentence meaning, ambiguity, and the relationship between language and the world. Pragmatics. Pragmatics deals with how language is used in context and in communication. It focuses on the social and situational aspects of language, including the intention of speakers, the interpretation of meaning, and the use of language to achieve specific goals. These dimensions are interconnected and work together to create a coherent and functional grammar system in a language. Understanding and analyzing these dimensions can help us comprehend and use.